Hi y'all, my name is Heather B and I do be reading, and today we are going to go through some of my Autobuy authors that I absolutely love, and hopefully you guys can tell me some of yours so that I can add more to my list. If y'all have watched some of my videos before, you know that I am a romance girly through and through. It is my bread and butter. It is what I love. So every single one of these authors on my Autobuy list are going to be romance. If you're not interested in romance, that is totally okay. You can feel free to skip this video, but please let me know what some of your Autobuy authors are that are not romance, that I can branch out a little bit. I have been trying to get more into thrillers and fantasy, so if you have recommendations for me, I would love to hear them. I have 8 Autobuy authors on the list that I created before I started filming this video, and I fear that I have more than just 8. I fear that there are some Autobuy authors that I have that I've only read like one book from, and that was enough to make me want to add them to my Autobuy list. I was trying not to do those authors. I was trying to do my authors that are actually like full-fledged Autobuy. Like, I've bought the majority of their books, if not their entire backlist, and I still absolutely adore them. So do I have more than 8 Autobuy authors? Absolutely. Am I going to share all of them? No, because this video would be like 5 hours long and it would be super boring and nobody would care. Also, no one would trust my opinion, because who reads one book from an author that has an extensive backlist and goes, Autobuy author? I'm nuts. It's fine. Let's get into the first author, which is one of my all-time favorite authors, and that is Ali Hazelwood. And if you didn't see that one coming, you clearly need to watch more of my videos. Ali Hazelwood is that girl, has always been that girl, and I am absolutely obsessed with her. I have finally finished the majority of her backlist. I still have to read, she has 2 audiobooks that are out, which I don't do a lot of audiobooks, so I haven't done those 2. And then I do have her entire AH Squared collection that came out a couple months ago, and I haven't read her book from that one yet either. So other than that, done with her entire backlist, and I can very confidently say that I loved absolutely every single one of the books. I don't think I rated a single one of her books under 4.5 stars. I might have given 1 or 2 of them a 4, but I highly, highly doubt it. I'm absolutely obsessed with everything she writes. She is one of those authors for me that could rewrite the phone book and I would be like, oh my God, what's gonna happen next? I don't know if everybody has authors like that, but she is mine. I fiercely love her, okay? I remember I found Ali Hazelwood when Love Hypothesis first came out, which was her first book, and I found it through Book of the Month. Thank God for Book of the Month, because otherwise I would not have found Ali Hazelwood. I wouldn't have found Abby Jimenez either. Like, there are so many authors that I forget sometimes that I found through Book of the Month. So bless you, Book of the Month, for giving me some of my all-time favorite authors ever. I remember getting Love Hypothesis and I picked it as my book for that month, and I was like, you know, this feels a little sciencey. Like, I don't really know if I'm gonna like this. We're gonna try it out, but I don't know if it's like my thing. Let me tell you, it is 100% my thing. There is nothing more my thing than Love Hypothesis. If you had asked me about a year ago what my favorite Ali Hazelwood book is, it would have been Love Hypothesis. That has since changed. It is still like top 3. But there are 2 books of hers that are tied for the #1 spot with me. When we go over every single one of these 8 Autobuy authors that I have, I will be telling you guys what my favorite book is by them. And for Miss Ali Hazelwood, I have 2 that are tied for the #1 spot, which I know is ridiculous, but I literally could not pick between either of these. And I feel like there are some of her least talked about books. My 2 favorite Ali Hazelwood books are Problematic Summer Romance and Checkmate. I'm adding both of those in here. I honestly don't know. I don't think I could pick. Like, to my head, I could not pick. I couldn't do it. And they're both so incredibly different. Like, Problematic Summer Romance is an age gap romance, and it's very adult. And then Checkmate is YA, and it is very much YA. It doesn't feel too young, but it definitely feels YA. The fact that I almost never hear anyone talk about these books makes me so sad. Obviously, we all love Hypothesis. So good. I know a lot of people loved Theoretically the best. That's probably all the way at the bottom of my list, to be completely honest. And that's not because it was bad. I just didn't read that one as fast as I flew through Problematic Summer Romance and Check and Mate. I think I read each of those books in like 2 days, which is very, very quick for me. I could not recommend those books more. I think I gave them both 6 stars, to be honest. I've seen a lot of people complain about Problematic Summer Romance. I honestly don't see any complaints with that book. So if you have complaints about that book, we're not equals here. I don't know what to tell you. I adored everything about that book. Everything. The location, the fact that we had all of the other characters kind of lumped back in from some of her old books, the aspect of science but not too overwhelming, our main characters, our FMC and our MMC, everything was pure perfection for me. Pure perfection, which is honestly most of her books. On the other side of the spectrum, we have Check and Mate. Absolutely phenomenal. I put off reading that book for so long because I don't always love a YA. I have to be in the right mood and the right frame of mind for a YA. And it's Ali Hazelwood's only YA, so I was very nervous that it wouldn't be good. I didn't really see anybody talking about it, so I was like, we're going to wait to pick that one up. We're going to leave that last. We did not leave it last. I ended up finding a library bind copy of it. So it's a hardcover. I don't have it next to me. It's a hardcover, but it's one of those hardcovers that's like kind of soft, like you would find in a elementary school library, and it doesn't have a sleeve to it. And I was like, I found this copy. Like, nobody else is gonna have this copy that I know of. I have to read it. Like, duh. So I remember starting it and I was like so nervous, and now it is one of my favorite books by her. And like I said, could not pick one or the other as my top Ali Hazelwood book. And if we're counting those as 1 and 2, which I can't separate them, number 3 would be Love Hypothesis in my top 3. If there is one author that I constantly recommend to everybody, it is Ali Hazelwood. If you love romance, if you love a very strong, feminine, science-y character, if you love quirkiness in a book, there's always quirkiness, whether it's in the banter, in the FMC's personality, in the way that the FMC is with her friends, or maybe her friend is the quirky one. Like, there's always some sort of quirk to her books, and I absolutely love that. It just makes them so much fun. But yeah, if you enjoy romance and you haven't read Ali Hazelwood, what are you doing? I'm judging you a little bit, but just because she's my all-time favorite author. For my Autobuy authors, I'm not going in any sort of sequence. They're not ranked at all. So I'm just going to try to mix them up a little bit. So for my next Autobuy author, we're going to talk about one that is not as well known as Ali Hazelwood, and that would be Miss Sarah Blue. I absolutely adore Sarah Blue. She is very spicy. The writing is very, very spicy. And I would say the majority of what she does is Omegaverse, but she also writes some like paranormal romances. Her writing is absolutely phenomenal. The plots are phenomenal. The characters are phenomenal. The spice is amazing, like mind-blowingly blushing, wet spice. So good. Love it. If you don't know what Omegaverse is and you like spicy books and you're okay with something that's not a traditional romance that has a lot of spice in it and is kind of, the entire plot is kind of surrounding the spice, like the spice is an integral part of the story. If that's something you might be interested in and you want to look into Omegaverse, I'm not going to explain what it is on this video because every time I try to explain what it is, I butcher it so bad. So I'm going to let the professionals do that. So go look up Omegaverse, come back and chat. I'll give you a minute. If you have read Bride or Mate by Ali Hazelwood, they have some Omegaverse vibes in them, such as in Bride when she finds out that Lo has a knot, and then in Mate when the FMC has her heat. That is kind of like very beginner Omegaverse. So if you read those 2 books and you liked those parts of the spice, I would recommend looking into Omegaverse. All of that being said, Sarah Blue writes some fantastic Omegaverse, and if you've ever wanted to try it, you should definitely give her a try. Even though I absolutely love all of her Omegaverse, my favorite book by her is Charming Your Dad, which is a paranormal romance in which our FMC decides to screw over her ex-boyfriend, who was a jerk, by going after and flirting with his dad. I love it. It was so good. If you're looking for something that's perfect around Halloween time, that book's fantastic. There is an underground spice club. It has a little bit to do with like demons and the devil. There's a lot going on in that book. She's a witch, our FMC, and just there's so much. The plot of the book is like nothing else you will ever read. I strongly feel that way about all of her books, and I don't know why more people don't talk about her. Probably because Omegaverse isn't as widely talked about on places like BookTube or BookTok or Bookstagram. So I think maybe that's it, but her writing is flawless, and if you're looking for something with a lot of spice and a lot of well-written spice that will make even the strongest of us blush and consider a change of shorts, you will absolutely love Sarah Blue. Even if you're not interested in the Omegaverse, you could always try her paranormal stuff. It's great, and it's perfect for Halloween or fall, which we're approaching very quickly, so I might have to pick up another Sarah Blue book very, very soon. The third author on my Autobuy author list seems to be one that is on every romance girlie's list, and that is Miss Emily Henry. I absolutely adore Emily Henry. I think she writes some great romance, and honestly, I think I would consider her books more women's fiction at this point. Some of her books are more heavy on the romance than anything else, but there's so much about a woman's journey through life in her books that I feel like classifying them as a romance kind of takes away from the bigger parts of the story, if you will. Especially some of her stories like Happy Place, where yes, there's a romance, but there's a lot that she is working through in herself that is apart from the romance. Like, yes, the romance kind of added into all of it, but there's so much other stuff going around that just narrowing it down and to a pinhole calling it a romance doesn't feel right for me. The only book of hers that I have not read yet is Great Big Beautiful Life. I have heard some mixed reviews on it. I'm not going to add anything into that mix because, like I said, I haven't read it yet, but I've read the rest of her backlist and absolutely adored it. My favorite book by her is Book Lovers, which I know is not most people's favorite, but I adore that book so much, and I think that's because I saw a lot of myself in that book, and it's always kind of cool when you can see yourself in the book. Not that that's something I necessarily look for in a book, because a lot of times I'm reading to escape what's going on in my everyday life or escape myself for a little bit, but the way that I got to read kind of about myself, except in a different font, through Book Lovers was kind of my first experience with that, and it was such a good time. It was such an emotional roller coaster for me, and I just absolutely adored that book. I am beyond excited to read Great Big Beautiful Life, even though I've heard so many mixed reviews about it. It is sitting right behind me, and I need to pick it up within hopefully the next couple weeks because I feel lame having not read it yet. In the same kind of realm as Emily Henry is another one of my Autobuy authors, and honestly, I think it's also a lot of romance girlies Autobuy author as well, and this would be Christina Lauren. I'm going to refer to Christina Lauren as an author, even though it is two people, Christina and Lauren. I absolutely adore their writing. I have not read the entirety of their backlist, but I do have a lot of their backlist on my shelves, and I plan to get to them over time because they've written so much. It's insane. My favorite book by them and what put them on my Autobuy list, honestly, was The Paradise Problem, which came out, I believe, a year or so ago. And that book, I flew through that in maybe like 2 days. That book was so good. It had the best summertime vibes. Like, I remember reading that book and immediately telling everybody, if you are looking for a beach read, if you're looking for a summer book that you can read by the pool, this is the one. If you're going on vacation, like a warm tropical vacation, that's the book. That book gave the best vibes, and the spice in that book was some of the best that I had read in a very long time. Even without the spice, I really just thought that the entire plot of that book was amazing. I love their characters, and I find it so intriguing the way that they're able to write these great plots that don't feel disjointed or weird at all, even though it is two authors writing together. I actually went to their book club that was at BookCon last year, and I got to sit in on like a chat with Christina and Lauren in the talks of their newest book that just came out, which is Romance Revival. So I got an arc of that book as well, which was super cool. And just the fact that we got to sit with them and like listen to how their creative process works and just listen to more about who they are as people. They just seem like such genuinely fun people. I can't even explain without you listening to them talk to each other and talk to other people. But they kind of bounce ideas off of each other, and they were saying that when they first start writing a book, they'll come up with the main ideas together, and then one of them will write the first draft, and it's a very, very, very rough draft. And it's basically like they'll write out the basics of the plot and then just say like, add dialogue here, add this here, do this here, come up with character name here. And then they'll pass it on to the other one, and the other one will add all of the like more intricate details into it. And then they'll just keep passing it back and forth until they have a better edit that they're ready to send off to their publisher or their editor. And I just think that sounds like such a crazy process. And I cannot fathom how none of their books feel disjointed or wonky at all. It's so crazy to me. It blows my mind. And that is another piece of why they're an Autobuy author for me, because the fact that they're able to do that and write such phenomenal books is crazy. So I know summer is almost over, but if you are looking for the perfect like by the pool read, if you're looking for the perfect beach read, just something you can sit outside with in the sun, please trust me, Paradise Problem, if you're looking for a romance that fits that description, it has the perfect vibes for all of that. And I'm pretty sure I rated that one like a 6-star as well, because it was just so good. I still haven't stopped thinking about that book, honestly. I think I'm going to go back and reread it, because it's been almost a year since I've read it, and I still think about it constantly, which is, again, very, very rare for me. Typically, I forget about a book almost as soon as I read it. So that is not common at all, and just shows you how much I love that book. My 5th Autobuy author is an author that only has 3 books out, and I need them to put out more because their writing is fantastic, and that is Miss Tracy Deonn, who wrote the Legendborn cycle. I am obsessed with these books. These are another series of books that I still think about constantly all the time, and I need to know when we're getting the 4th book, because Miss Girl, can we be for real right now? Like, I need it in my hands. If you have not read Legendborn yet, literally, what are you doing? Like, don't tell me you don't have time. Don't tell me you don't think you're going to be interested because it's very heavy fantasy and you don't think you're going to like it. Stop with the excuses. Legendborn is a must read for everyone. Everyone. I don't say that lightly. I think everyone could find something they like in Legendborn. Legendborn has some incredible history tied into it. It's based off of Knights of the Round, so it's got history in that sense. It's got a lot of African-American history in it as well. And the characters are phenomenal. So the writing in itself is amazing. It's also got the romance. It's got like kind of a love triangle in the plot a little bit. It's also got a lot of self-discovery as a young woman, especially a young Black woman. There's so much going on in it. There's so much depth to the book that it's ridiculous that it's as short as it is. Like, I've read books, I think Legendborn has like maybe 400 to 500 pages, I'm guessing, but it's not that thick of a book, okay? I've read books that were twice that size that didn't have the amount of depth that that book has. The amount of intricacies and history in that book, the amount of details that they give is insane. And I need Tracy Deonn to not only finish book 4 and gimme right now, but also I need her to write just more in general, because I cannot wait to see what she's going to get into after the Legendborn cycle is complete. Not that I'm exactly ready for that series to be over, because I just want it to keep going forever because it's so freaking good, but I'm excited to see what she does next, because I think she's going to do fantastic things. The fact that this is her only series out and I am adding her to my Autobuy list is insane. She's that good. If you've been questioning it, if you like a little bit of history, a little bit of fantasy, a little bit of romance, a little bit of finding yourself as a young woman, if you like figuring out yourself and your family dynamic, found family, there's so much to her writing. And again, books are not that thick. Like, you could read them in a couple days. They're so good. I highly recommend to everyone. I think it's got a little bit of something for everyone sprinkled in. Now we move on to my 6th Autobuy author who I am slowly working through her backlist, and that, to literally no one's surprise, is Miss Rachel Reed. I'm actually currently reading Tough Guy because I want to get through the rest of that series and I'm absolutely loving it. I know this is one of the least favorites in the Game Changer series, but I'm absolutely loving it so far. And I really didn't think I was going to. This was the one I was most scared to read because it was the one I thought I would resonate with the least just because of the premise of the book, but I'm genuinely wholeheartedly adoring it. Like, I love Ryan. I love Ryan, and Fabian's amazing. I don't know if you pronounce his name Fabian or Fabian. I'm gonna assume it's Fabian because his friend Vanessa calls him Fabe. So I'm like, if his name was Fabian, they would call him Fab or Fob, you know? Anyway, I absolutely adore Rachel Reed, to no one's surprise. My favorite book of hers is Heated Rivalry. I know a lot of people's favorites are The Long Game, and I know there's some other people that love her other books that are outside of the Game Changer series, which once I finish the Game Changer series, I will be getting to. But honestly, I don't think Rachel Reed could do any wrong in my book. Like, her writing is insanely good. And if you're the type of person that has never branched out into like a queer romance, you've only read straight romance, first of all, what are you doing? Because some of the best romance books that I've ever read are queer romances. If you're scared to branch into that, or not sure if you would like it, not sure how you would feel about the spice, or how you would view the relationship because it might be different from what you as a straight person is used to, if you're feeling any of those, let me just tell you, I am straight. My first experience with an MM romance or a queer romance was Rachel Reed, and I fell down an MM rabbit hole for a very long time after reading Heated Rivalry. Her books are so good. I don't know if it's your first time reading a queer romance and experiencing the spice in them, I don't know that I would start with Heated Rivalry, because from my experience thus far, Heated Rivalry has the most spice in it, so you might want to start with like Game Changer, which I feel like has a little bit less spice. It might be a good starting point, a good jumping off point, but I highly recommend not only just getting into Rachel Reed, but getting into a queer romance, because again, they're some of the best romance books that I've ever read, and I don't have an issue with not being able to see myself in the books. I know that's been like a thing on Book Talk, which I don't fully understand, but whatever. I highly recommend picking up any queer romance, even if it's not Rachel Reed, but I do very highly recommend Rachel Reed because I've loved everything I've read so far. Autobuy author number 7 for me is one that I have read most of her backlist, but I'm not reading all of her backlist in a row because I save her for a very specific reason, and that author is Miss Tessa Bailey. Tessa Bailey is what I like to call my palette cleanser. So Tessa Bailey's books are very fun. They have like sillier parts to their plots. They have spice. They have, you know, I just feel like her plots are a little bit like quirky and silly and light, like fluffy, I would call them. Even My Killer Vacation, which is supposed to be like thriller-esque, is very light and fluffy and quirky and silly, and I just love that about her. I know there are a lot of people that don't absolutely love Tessa Bailey the way that I do, but for me, Tessa Bailey books are perfect to go in between like really heavy fantasies, or maybe really dark books like dark romance, which I do tend to read a lot, or maybe just something that was super, super emotional, or maybe something you had to put a lot of thought into, something that was really hard on your brain, even like a nonfiction or something like that. Tessa Bailey, for me, as a romance lover and a lover of like a silly romance at times, is the perfect palette cleanser, the perfect way to calm down after reading a more difficult book or a more emotional book and let your brain relax a little bit. They normally don't require a crazy amount of like thought or analysis, and they're not crazy emotional, even though they do pull on your emotions a tiny bit. It's a romance, so which ones don't? She is the perfect palette cleanser. I genuinely think so. I say this all the time. I don't have one specific book that I recommend of hers. I typically, when I recommend her in this way of saying like light, fluffy, silly, spicy, perfect palette cleanser romance. My personal favorite by her, although I do adore the majority of her books, my personal favorite by her is Fangirl Down. I read that one, and I think it was the first time that I ever looked at Tessa Bailey as an author other than a palette cleanser, if you catch my drift. That was the first time that I really took one of her books very seriously. That book played a lot with my emotions, and it felt like it had a lot more depth to it than some of her other books. And yeah, it was still a little silly, but it felt less silly and quirky than some of her other books, and I genuinely enjoyed it so, so much. And that has to be hands down one of my favorite books by her. And now, when I want to recommend a book by her, that's typically the one that I recommend, unless someone is looking for a palette cleanser type book, then I have a couple of others of hers that I recommend. But if they're looking for something a little bit more deep, a little bit more serious, a little more like a standard romance, I would say Fangirl Down is the one to go with, especially if you like a sports romance. Not that there's not still quirkiness and silliness to that book, because there definitely is, but that one just had a little more depth to it for me. Honestly, that whole interconnected standalone series had a little bit more depth for me, and I loved them so much. I've read every single one of those ones. The last Autobuy author of mine that we are going to talk about is one that I don't see talked about enough. A new book of hers recently got trad published, and now I've seen a little bit more talk about her. But honestly, even after reading that one, I still think her sports series that she started with was my favorite, and that is Miss Grace Riley. I started reading Grace Riley years ago when I was actually an ARC reader for her, which is funny because I had so much trouble getting Yes Chef by her, which is her new book that just came out a week or two ago. I had so much trouble getting an ARC of that one. It was near impossible to get an ARC of that, which is so funny because, again, I ARC read for her first interconnected standalone sports series when she was still indie, and so it's just funny to me. But I absolutely love her indie published sports romance series that she did, and I know it's trad now and you can get it in like a Barnes & Noble or a Books A Million, but my favorite book by her has to be First Down. I absolutely adored that book. That was my first experience with her. It was the first book that she had written, and I had such a fun time with that one, and I honestly think that might have been one of the first sports romances I ever picked up, which is crazy. We're going back a decent amount of years, okay? Her writing is so good, and I just love it so, so much. If you are looking for a sports romance that is not as well known, or if you're looking for a sports romance that involves football, because that first book involves football, I absolutely adored First Down. Her most recent book that came out was fantastic as well. That one was Yes Chef, and Yes Chef is about an influencer dating a chef, and it's very grumpy sunshine. It's super good as well. I just feel like I don't see people talk about Grace Riley very often, and I've read every single one of her books. She only has 4 or 5 out, but they're so, so good, and each one is like a completely different trope, a completely different type of plot, but they're so phenomenal, and I feel like I need to add her into this video because she is an Autobuy author for me, but also I feel like people don't talk about her enough. When her new book came out like a week or two ago, I started seeing more chatter about her, but I feel like we need to hype her up more because that girl can write. And those books, if you're looking for a good sports romance that is not like the typical one that's talked about on BookShelf or Bookstagram or whatever, First Down, that whole series by Grace Riley, amazing, immaculate, love it, chef's kiss, pun intended. There are a couple of other authors that I would consider on an Autobuy list for me, but like I said, we would be here all day if I gave you all those, so I'll give you kind of an idea. Rebecca Yarros, for any of her fantasy stuff, is definitely going to be Autobuy for me. H.D. Carlton, I have not read through the entirety of her backlist, but she is one that I absolutely adore, and she is an Autobuy for me, even though I haven't read through her entire backlist. Another one would be Abby Jimenez. Again, similar situation, have not read through her entire backlist, but I tend to love every single book that she puts out. Julie Soto is another one. She only has a couple of books out, but she is a fantastic writer, and I loved her initial book, Forget Me Not, so, so much, and that's another book that I think about constantly, all the time. Rebecca Ross is another one that I think about Divine Rivals all the time, and honestly, I am so excited to get into Wild Reverence, and I can't believe I haven't read it yet. That is the only one on her list of books that she's published that I have not read yet. And I just saw that she announced a new book recently that I am super excited for. The plot of that one sounds great. So she is an Autobuy author for me as well. Lynn Painter is another one that I haven't read her entire backlist, but every book of hers that I've read, I've loved. But I'm not always in a YA type of mood, and her books do feel YA, so I have to be in the mood for one of her books. But I do have a bunch of her books sitting on my TBR shelves, and I am super excited to get into them. If I think of any more of my Autobuy authors, I will definitely let you guys know in the future, but for right now, these are all that I got. I'm sure there's other authors that I absolutely love and I think about all the time, but this is all that comes to mind off the top of my head. If you guys have any other recommendations for me based on the Autobuy authors I told you about in this video, please, please, please let me know. If you have authors that you love that you never see anyone talk about and they're Autobuy for you, please give a girl Rex, because even though I have a crap ton of books on my physical TBR, I can always add more. There's always room for more books. Am I right? I'm so excited to read your comments and see what you guys have as Autobuy authors and see what you can recommend to me based on what I told you my Autobuy authors are. I hope you guys will do all the fun things as usual. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will talk to you guys next week. Love you, bye!